Hey, this is Matt Stohrer and I repair saxophones for a living. Today I would like to show you a gold-plated Couf Superba I. This is a tenor saxophone made in 1971 by the Julius Keilwerth Company in Germany. And this was made exclusively, so you can see it here, made exclusively for Herb Couf by Julius Keilwerth Music Instrument Fabric. Now, Herb Couf was the president of the Armstrong Company. He's a clarinetist, and from what I've heard, also a really cool guy. And he had Keilwerth build these horns for him, and he imported them in the late 60s, 70s, and another version up through the 80s. This is gold-plated, which is very rare for these saxophones, and it's in really good shape, and it plays really nice. Just finished an overhaul on this one. From a repairman's perspective, there's a couple things you would want to watch out for if you're buying one of these saxophones. First and foremost, I would say, is that Keilwerth construction in general is not awesome. They're really nice saxophones. They sound really good. They've got a really rich, warm, complex sound that's kind of hard to find most other places. But their construction is variable, let's say. Some of them are really well put together. Some of them seem like they have a lot of issues coming out of the factory as far as key fit, where you can grab a key and it'll move back and forth. Now this one, as you can see, is pretty good. Whether that's because this one was gold plated and they gave extra attention to it because it was a special order, but you can hear like a little bit of looseness here in this particular key. And a lot of times in these horns you'll find that everywhere. Also, another thing is that these posts, it has single post construction. So you've got these posts that hold the keys on. They're just a little itty bitty post with a little round foot on the bottom, holding up all this mass, versus a lot of modern saxophones have rib construction where all these posts will be mounted on a long rib that goes down the body. You've got a couple that are ribbed, like the side keys and the palm keys are mounted on a rib, but everything else is single post. So for instance, you've got this post right here holding on this key here, your B and B flat, and your G sharp, and it's a single post, a little tiny round foot. And it's real easy for those to get knocked out of alignment. So a lot of times the post will be knocked away, and at the very least loose, not parallel, or sometimes knocked all the way off. This had 3 posts that were off at one point or another. Also, someone replaced the neck strap hook with a lacquered version, which is unfortunate, but there are worse things to happen to a saxophone than have a lacquered thumb rest where the sax is gold plated. And this one plays really well. I put domed metal resonators in it, which seems to work really well with these. It has rolled tone holes, meaning the tone holes are pulled up out of the body, and then the tip is rolled over, gives a little bit more surface area. And some people say it changes the sound. As saxophones are individual and there's so many variables going on, it's kind of hard for me to tell whether the rolled tone holes is making a difference, or the fact that it's got dome resonators, or it's gold plated, or it's got no leaks, or what it's been through, or the particular dimensions of this saxophone, since they're all going to be slightly different and little tiny variations make a difference. You'll notice I'm wearing gloves. I just polished this up. Wore gloves while I was working on it, so it goes back to the owner with no fingerprints. Also, another thing to watch out with these is these pearls. They're oversized and they feel really nice under the fingers, but they're not actually held in by any metal like a lot of saxophones have. If you look at your pearls, the holders are actually peened over to hold the pearls in. These are just glued on with some sort of epoxy, and sometimes they'll come off or they'll wear off. The modern Keilwerth pearls are close, but they're not the same. So if you're missing these, or if yours fall off, make sure you hold on to them, because the modern ones don't fit quite as well as the originals. Now this has a high F sharp, you'll notice here. It's kind of in a nice spot too. I like the way that works. You got your alternate F sharp there, and your high F sharp here. Ergonomically, it's actually a really nice sax. It doesn't have the tilting B flat spatula, so when you press down the B flat, it just goes straight down, versus tilting like on a 6 or a modern Yamaha or Yanagasawa. But everything else feels pretty much the same. You got these nice conical rollers, which feel really good under the fingers. Now, Keilwerth has actually been around for a long time. People don't realize, but Keilwerth saxophones have been around since the early part of the 1900s. There were 3 brothers, Keilwerth, who made saxophones, and their main models that you hear of most often are the New King and the Tone King. Now this is what's called a Tone King stencil. If Calworth had made this under their own name rather than making it for Couf, then this would have said Calworth Tone King. And this is a 1971, but I've actually got, here is a New King, which is their other model. Usually the Tone King had extra key work, like in this case the F sharp, and the New King was their like kind of base model. This is a New King Calworth from 1938. This is an alto. It's got rolled tone holes. It's got a Kahn style left-hand pinky table. Actually, lots of stuff feels like Kahn on here. One interesting thing is these side keys. They're angled, and it looks kind of weird until you play, but you can actually kind of roll on these, and it's really comfortable. I wish more sax manufacturers did that. And this is a really nice playing alto. It gets a little flat in the palm keys, sometimes sharp in the bell keys depending on your mouthpiece, but it's got a really good tone. So this is a 1930s Calworth. And you'll also notice on the 30s Calworth that the neck has a microtuner, like a Kahn, which is kind of interesting. Now a lot of people say that Calworth stole from Kahn. Some people say Kahn stole from Calworth, but basically there was a lot of stuff going on in saxophones at that time. It's hard to tell who did what. Here's an interesting horn. This is the New King Series 2. The one I just showed you is a New King Series 1. This is a Tone King Series 4. So that's 4 iterations of their main sax from the 30s till the 70s. And this is a Series 2, which is an interesting horn because you'll notice it has soldered tone holes, unlike the rolled tone holes on the others. Every Calworth has rolled tone holes, except this one. There's only a couple hundred of these made. I haven't put this one together yet. I will soon. This is actually mine. And no one knows what the deal is. It's a completely different saxophone. It's supposed to play different design. They only did it for a couple hundred horns. Now, why anyone would tool up and design a horn to only make a couple hundred is anybody's guess, especially as these are supposed to play nice. If it played horrible, I'd understand, but these are supposed to be really nice. You can see it says New King on it, and that's kind of like their trademark, is the world, or the globe with a banner, and there's the little Calworth crown that you see a lot. So, this is a Calworth Couf Superba I in gold plate. It's got pretty much modern key work. These play really well, especially for R&B, rock, jazz, smooth jazz. Really big, rich, full sound. They feel pretty good under the fingers. You can get these for anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000 in tenor, depending on the condition. Probably $1,500 to $3,000 in an alto. And sometimes you'll see Calworth baritones and sopranos in the same serial range. They're also very good horns. Just got to make sure it's in good shape because they're not the sturdiest of horns. You really want to make sure that they start off in pretty good physical shape to save yourself money. Put a good pad job on them, and they'll hold their own against any other sax in the section. Perhaps even be a bit bigger sounding and louder than a lot of Selmers. Probably, I would say this is more in line with like a Con 10M than a Selmer. There you have it. There is the Couf Superba I. This is a 1971, brought into the U.S. by Herb Couf, president of W.T. Armstrong at the time. Great playing horns. You see them every once in a while, and they represent pretty good value for the dollar. Just make sure they're in good shape. Alright, hope this was helpful. If you'd like more information, see some close-up photos of the sax, go to my website, stohrmusic.com, S-T-O-H-R-E-R, music.com. Feel free to leave comments here, send me an email, ask questions, anything saxophonic. I love to talk about it. So, thanks for watching.